Hi, I'm Staff Sergeant Johnny Vargas, the 2nd Brigade Armor Combat Team Housing Manager for 1st ID, Fort Riley, Kansas. And I'm here to talk to you about an array of subjects that vary from inspecting facilities, how to detect biological growth, what to do if you detect biological growth, and follow-on actions once you do determine that, yes, it is biological growth. Let's get started. On 7 October 2022, the Headquarters Department of the Army issued an execution order for Fort Riley, Kansas. In that order, they stated that 1st ID Fort Riley, Kansas would inspect every single facility on its installation to ensure that health, life, and safety standards were being upheld for our soldiers and its families. A variety of teams will be put together across Fort Riley to inspect the facilities for possible mold. A key note to take away is that if the space is under 10 square feet, certain policies and procedures are set in place to clean up that mold. Up on the screen, you'll see two photos. The photo on the left is of an extreme case of mold and mildew. That building was flooded, and mold and mildew showed up because of the flooding. The photo on the right of your screen is a less extreme and more common instance that you will see happening in your buildings and facilities. This was due to moisture left on that chair, and it was left unattended. Mold loves to grow in dark and wet places, so make sure that your buildings and facilities are dry and clean. Next, you'll see a slide that explains what mold needs and what mold is susceptible to when trying to combat it. Mold grows in dark and moist areas such as under sinks and tubs with leaking plumbing, around windows with cracks or bad weather stripping, and on roofs and plumbing leaks. You might be asking yourself, what do I do if I find something wrong in my facility? Well, we have 3 agencies here on post that will help you with just that. The first and easiest way to submit a work order is through ARMA, the Army Reporting Maintenance Application. Every soldier and leader must be registered on this app. After that, you have the Emergency DPW Service Order Desk. This is in case of emergencies such as floods and leaks in your buildings. The other agency is Skookum. They handle all the service orders here on Fort Riley. And after you make that call for your service order, here's what's going to happen. We call it remediation. Here are some takeaways for what we just discussed. Housekeeping is key. Keep your facilities dry and clean. It is extremely important that you report any issue found as soon as possible. Bad news does not get better with time. You're about to see a video of how to conduct those inspections.
Hi, I'm Jeff Williamson. I'm the Director of Public Works here at Fort Riley, Kansas. I'm responsible for all the facilities and the quality of life that goes in all of them. Today we're here in front of one of our barracks, and we're going to show you what we do before soldiers move in. And here is Steve. He's our Chief of Housing for Fort Riley, and he's going to kind of help you go through what to expect when you get here. Steve?
Thanks, Jeff. Again, as Jeff stated, my name is Steve Milton. I am the Army Chief of Housing here at Fort Riley, so I oversee the barracks program, the hotel program, and the on-post housing program. And as Jeff also mentioned, that quality of life here at Fort Riley, regardless if it's for families or whoever, is important to us. And right now, we're standing in front of the Cab Complex Barracks, and we're here to talk about and address the quality of life and what it takes to prepare a room for our service members, and this particular service group is our single soldier population. So with that, we're going to walk inside and meet a couple folks who are going to walk us through what they do at the leader level to make sure a room meets those quality of life standards.
Let's go.
So welcome back. As I mentioned before, we're out inside the barrack itself that we were outside previously, and I've got 2 fine young Americans here today. With me here is Sergeant First Class Rakowski and Staff Sergeant Vargas, and these are 2 subject matter experts that are going to walk us through what it takes to prepare a room for a service member to ensure that it meets that life, health, and safety standards that we mentioned earlier. Sergeant Rakowski, Sergeant Vargas, this is your ball.
Good morning. Again, I'm Sergeant First Class Rakowski. I'm going to introduce you to the Annex B, going through these rooms to show the health and safety standards.
And I'm Staff Sergeant Vargas for 2nd Brigade, and we're going to show you and the leaders that you work with how to ensure that your soldiers are living safely and correctly in their rooms.
As soon as we walk in, there's three main things we want to look at immediately. First, the walls, general cleanliness, make sure there's no holes. We'll walk around, painted, like again, no holes. And as we walk around, we'll see these vents. Vents are a big hot spot for the possibility of biological growth. We got a little bit of dust. As soldiers move out, these will all be cleaned to prevent any kind of growth. As we continue along, another vent over here, and then we look up, and we have smoke detectors and a fire suppression system, which, if tampered with, will result in UCMJ action. So make sure your soldiers know that they will not be messed with. Sergeant Vargas.
So I'm going to talk to you today about anything that has a seal, caulking, or a filter with it. First and foremost, as soon as you walk through the door, you'll see that there's a seal on the actual door itself. You need to make sure that this seal is intact and does not have holes or rips in it to ensure that the HVAC system is circulating air properly. We're going to move on to the fridge, and first thing you want to do is open up the freezer. You'll see that there's another seal on the freezer, and there's going to be some red flags, some telltale signs that will tell you that something is wrong with your freezer. First, you're going to look and make sure that there's no frost buildup or any moisture buildup around the freezer, because if so, that means that your seal is not working. Another thing you want to do is lightly pull on the seal, not too hard that you remove the seal, but just to check that it's actually snug and fits well to the actual door. Again, when you're looking at the seal, you want to look inside the seal and make sure that it's free of dust, dirt, and anything that has gotten in there. If you see anything that could possibly be biological growth, ensure that it's cleaned first, and then we'll properly inspect it to make sure that that is not any biological growth on the seal. Every fridge should have this on it. It says keep the freezer on medium and the refrigerator must stay on max. So ensure that back here in the back of the freezer that it stays on medium, and then in the fridge that the fridge is on the max setting. And on the fridge you'll have another seal on the door like this, and lightly tug on the seal, make sure that there's no moisture buildup around the door or the seal itself. Check it for cleanliness, make sure it's fitting properly, and then make sure that it doesn't have any possible biological growth on that door. You're going to want to move up to the microwave that's fixed to the fridge. That's the key word, fixed. Make sure that it's actually fixed to the refrigerator so it doesn't fall on anybody. After that, you're going to want to open the microwave, make sure that your seal on this door is intact, no rips, tears, or dents or damages on the actual seal, to ensure that the heating element, that nothing goes wrong with the heating element, and that it's clean inside and that it's working properly. Another thing to mention about the fridge is you want to make sure that there's no too much clutter around the fridge. There's a fan and a filter on the back of the fridge that commonly gets clogged. So you're going to want to pull out this fridge away from the wall while keeping it plugged in to ensure that the fan is still circulating and that the filter is clear of any dust or debris that gets caught in the filter that could cause this to stop working. Next, moving on to the sink. The sink is a very, very common place to get any biological growth because of the water that passes through it. First thing you want to do is on top, check around the faucet that there's proper caulking on the faucet. There's no cracks, there's no missing caulking. If so, it needs to be recaulked to ensure that moisture does not escape. Next, after that, you want to turn on the water and make sure you check underneath the cabinets. And you want to check your P-trap to make sure that there's nothing leaking. And here on the floor, you want to make sure that it's clear and clean, because this is a very, very common place to have some biological growth. Next, moving on to another safety feature, which is the GFCI outlets that will be around any source of water. There's one here underneath the stove, and there's a regular outlet that's by the sink. If any water gets in that system or circuit, the GFCI will engage and shut off all power to ensure that nothing goes wrong. To test this system, hit the test button. It should click, and then just hit the reset button and make sure it goes back in to properly, to make sure the GFCI is working properly. Here's the stovetop. You're going to want to make sure that both features work for your soldier as they're moving out and moving in. Underneath your stove, you'll have a range hood, and there should be a filter it's metallic, and you want to make sure the filter is in place, it's not dirty, and it's not ripped or anything that needs to be repaired. You want to ensure that your light is working properly, and you're going to want to look in your cabinets to make sure that the doors are fixed to the cabinet properly, and that your actual cabinet shelves are fixed to the cabinet itself properly and do not fall on somebody in the likely or unlikely event that something goes wrong.
Moving on, we have a vanity sink. So just to reiterate what Sergeant Vargas covered, we want to try the water running, check the P-trap underneath, the baseboard to make sure that there's no biological growth, the caulking around the sink, and the actual tap itself. Make sure it's free and clear. Common thing when clearing soldiers, we forget to check for dust on top of the lights. General cleanliness will help that out. Moving into the bathroom itself. More caulking around the shower. This is housekeeping responsibilities. So if we have any darkness around the caulking, that can come out with a little bit of soldier scrubbing. We want to check for caulking around all the fixtures. Make sure it's clean and present. We want to turn the water on. It works. After the shower, we want to wipe down the entire shower to prevent mildew. Leave the vents on. This vent isn't working. We have a work order in ARMA. And once it's dried off, we want to close the shower curtain to allow the curtain itself to dry. We want to make sure that we are clean. The floors are clean, especially behind the toilets. There's caulking on the bottom of the shower fixture as well. Toilets are clean and operational. And the light. The light also works. Leave the door open so that ventilation can come from the entire room. And there's your bathroom.
So when looking at your soldier's bedroom, there could be a few factors that might come into play. One, there might be a lot of things on the wall, or it might be dirty. Don't let any of those things distract you. You want to focus on the main areas, which I'm about to discuss. So first, when you come in the room, you're going to want to check the walls to make sure that there's no holes in the wall and that the door has the proper seal on it. Again, like mentioned before, there are safety features in the room, like the fire suppression system and the smoke detector. One of the main important things about these rooms is the window itself. So when looking at your soldier's window, you want to make sure that one, it's actually closed and it closes and locks properly. Especially in the summer, if you keep the window open, moisture will get drawn into the building, and that will trigger the HVAC system to overwork itself, and the HVAC systems will go down. To check the window, you want to walk up to the window, open it, make sure it opens properly, close it, and again, check for seals and any caulking. You'll see down here on the bottom, there's a line of caulking on the window. On the window itself, there will be other caulking and different types of seals on the window. You want to make sure that that's clean. Additionally, with looking at your windows, you want to check your blinds and make sure that they're clean, that they're clear of any debris or dust or any moisture. All right, so we're going to touch on the vents one more time. If you look up here on the wall, on the left, there's an outtake vent. It takes all of the hot air and draws it in, and then it pumps cold air through the vent on the right side. You want to make sure that these vents are clear of any dust, debris, or any moisture. Your soldier's closet is just as important as their room. Again, you'll see a fire suppression system on the ceiling that you want to make sure that is not tampered with. Other than that, you just want to make sure that the room is clear and free just in case they need to get in here and that there's no hazards blocking the doors. So on this wall, there's a QR code. You might be asking yourself, what if my soldier finds something wrong with this room or with this building? Or what if I find something wrong with this room or building while inspecting it? Sergeant Barkowski is going to explain exactly what is on this door.
So while going through the bathroom, I mentioned ARMA for the vent. So ARMA is the Army Maintenance Application. We have a QR code for registering. Everyone that lives in the barracks, everyone that comes into the barracks, in fact, every soldier when they in process your unit should register for ARMA. That's how you get work orders for your workplace, and more specifically here for the barracks. We have a QR code for registering and submitting work orders. So soldiers just scan that, say what room they're in, what's wrong with their room, and boom, we get someone out to fix it. And more information, we have another QR code. Will take you to our homepage right here on Fort Riley. So if you have questions, you can find out who's responsible for fixing or not fixing the room. We can find that out. But ARMA, everyone's registered, and it's just that easy. We can get it fixed for the soldier.
We need to have a plan when walking to our soldiers' room to inspect. Start from left to right and go from top to bottom, as you saw in the video. Do not cut corners when inspecting your soldier's room. Make sure that you give them the proper time to inspect and that you inspect their rooms as if it were your own. If you're approached by anyone, please refer them to the Public Affairs Office. The first section you'll see on Annex B deals with general safety, GFCI outlets, fire doors, and fire suppressions, and so on. You want to ensure that these safety features work and are present in your soldiers' rooms. The next section deals with radon. We at the unit level will not be responsible for checking radon. We do not have those capabilities. That does not mean that it's not going to happen. The proper agencies that are qualified and certified will conduct this part of the inspection. The next section of the form is pest management. Here you want to confirm the existence of pests or confirm that they are not in your soldier's room. After pest management, we have asbestos. This is another thing that we will not check at the unit level. A certified and qualified inspection team will be present to check for asbestos in each room. Following the asbestos, we have water. You want to ask yourself several questions. Is it clear? Is it brown? Is it oily? How is the water pressure? Make sure that your water is flowing properly and not leaking in your soldier's room. Moving further along Annex Form B, you will see a step-by-step process of exactly everything you need to check in your soldier's room. At the top of that form, you'll see condition codes. View these as brevity codes to make it simpler and easier for your inspection team to read and understand the deficiencies in your soldiers' rooms. Moving on to Annex Form C is the Garrison Facility Quality of Life Inspection. This will be for all garrison level facilities. You'll answer basic questions like, are there leaks in the plumbing? Is the roof intact? And so on. After Annex C, you will move on to Annex Form D, the Unit Level Facility Quality of Life Inspection. You will answer similar questions found in Annex C to ensure that your buildings are in good and working condition. The last form that you'll see is Annex E, the Dampness and Mold Visual Assessment. You will only use this form if there is a confirmed presence of mold in your building. As leaders, we are called to be stewards of our soldiers. We owe it to them to ensure that their health, life, and safety standards are being met and exceeded every single day in their living quarters and the facilities that they inhabit every day. Please take everything you learned today and apply it to your units.